In our first story, 4 Chinese miners were arrested over the weekend for violating government's ban on mining in the Amancia Central District in the Ashanti region. The 4 who were arrested during a special operation by the Ghana Immigration Service were taken to Kumasi. There were reports of telephone calls for their release at the request of a Galamsey business owner, Nhia. And there's more in this report.
We had to catch them unawares, and so we had to go through a long route from the Amancia Central District. We came through Ayamfre and then came through this place off the Dunkwa Road, and here we are. And you can see them running away with their foreign nationals. So this is the site belonging to Miss Asia Huang, popularly referred to as Aisha. And I understand she has mined and stolen many concessions in this area belonging to other mineral resources companies. And she does so without impunity because she has the strong backing of strong political forces. This is the same place that 4 Chinese nationals were arrested yesterday by the immigration services. But you find out today that we came to meet 2 Chinese foreign nationals and many of their local counterparts still engaging in the mining. So the arrest caused no deterrence at all to them.
Our officers at Obuasi received a call from somebody who claims to be a resident in Bepotintin. So the commander there instructed his men to go and have a look at the place and see whether the story that was told them was true. And when they went there, around 6:30 in the evening yesterday, they saw 4 Chinese nationals in their makeshift structure. They have this temporary structure almost always around the mining sites. They were inside and they arrested them. They asked them of their permits or passports, and they said their documents are all with one Aisha. Aisha is the owner of that mining site. So we called, they processed them, did their own background investigations and brought them to Kumasi here. And we are also doing some further investigations and forward all of them, the 4 of them, to Accra for decision to be taken. We have invited Aisha to the regional command, and as we speak, she said she's on her way coming. So we are waiting for her. She has a permanent residence permit. She got this on the 28th of March 2015.
Meanwhile, the editor-in-chief of the Crusading Guide newspaper, Abdul Malik Kwekubako, has revealed that some Chinese women like Aisha Huang have become untouchable because of threat of blackmail against prominent people at the helm of affairs with secret recordings of their sexual escapades. He spoke on his file.
This particular Chinese woman, I have it on record, was arrested 3 times during the previous administration. 3 times she was released. She's a very powerful woman. Operates more within the Ashanti region, especially Kumasi. She's got connections from my own checks, also in this administration. She's got her agents placed in state institutions, particularly the security agencies. And she's able to wriggle herself out of danger or trouble anytime she's touched. And she's got accomplices. The other one is called Monica. The other one, the name has slipped me because it's a Chinese name. I can't pronounce. But they are powerful. Part of their strength is that they built up a certain system of blackmailing. They have video and audio recordings of their conversations with some strategically placed persons from then and now, and some they are having sex with, or they have girls, some mainly Chinese, who they brought into town, who sleep with these big men or big guys well placed. And they have them, and they use it to blackmail our big men into submission.
There's a lot more, and I know that Anas Aremeyaw Anas has done one of those investigative pieces alongside Malik Kwekubako, and I'm sure that in due course the whole public will see it. But the process of restoring land upon which mining has taken place back to the natural, economically usable state is what reclamation is all about, right? Unfortunately, that does not happen on majority of the sites abused by illegal miners, popularly known as galamseyers. Often, the pits are even left uncovered, making them breeding grounds for mosquitoes in these communities. Joy News' Maxwell Agbagba was at one of the so-called reclaimed lands in the Akwitia area, owned by the Great Consolidated Diamonds Limited, and he comes through with this report.
You've had a lot of talk about galamsey and how it is affecting our environment badly. But I tell you what, all is not gloomy. In fact, what you're seeing here right now, there used to be a mining concession where they used to get gold. But now they have reclaimed the land, making use of it.
This was a place which has been mined before, about 5 to 7 years ago. Yeah, and people, those who originally owned the land, came back to it, and then they started their planting. And you can see that they have cassava, they have palm, fruit, and all that. So this is what we are talking about when we actually go through the process. And that is why we are asking each and everybody that, yes, the government is ready to let everybody work. Anybody who wants to work in the mineral industry, yes, if you want to pass through the right channel, if you want to go through what the Minerals Commission is prescribing, there's no way that we'll say we'll not let you work. What are we keeping the gold and the diamonds down there for? Instead of people hiding behind, going to work in the night, and then creating pontoons on the streams and rivers, that one, it is totally unacceptable. Under no circumstance, and no minister and no chief executive officer of the Minerals Commission will ever, and I say will ever, issue any kind of paper to anyone who is going to work near or on the street.
They actually got this palm fruits from the land that was reclaimed, telling you some of the importance of reclamation of land. If the best practices are ensured, certainly we can reap the benefits, and that's what is happening here on the grounds at the Great Consolidated Diamond Limited. These fruits, I'm sure, will be put to good use. Reporting for Joy News, Maxwell Agbagba.
And thank you, Maxwell, for that story. But we have to move on to some others. And St. Joseph Hospital in Jirapa in the Upper West region will from this week revert to cash and carry if claims owed by them by the National Health Insurance Authority is not paid. As of the end of last year, the NHIA owed the facility 11 months in claims or arrears. Medical Superintendent of the hospital, Dr. Richard Wudaseme, said promises made to pay the amount at the close of April 2017 so far have yielded no results. Due to lack of drugs at the hospital's pharmacy, patients now go out to buy drugs after treatment. Well, he gave the startling revelation at the International Day of the Sick, organized by the hospital at Jirapa.
The Jirapa St. Joseph's Hospital is a 193-bed facility and serves a projected population of about 99,565. Due to its strategic location, it is the preferred choice for clients in the region and beyond. Patients' attendance has seen a sustained and increased attendance over the last decade. The hospital has expanded its services to include the provision of neonatal intensive care as well as breast and cervical cancer screening units. Medical Superintendent of the hospital, Dr. Richard Wudaseme, speaking at the International Day of the Sick, expressed concern over the inability of the National Health Insurance Authority to reimburse the hospital of claims owed the facility for the past 12 months. 96% of attendants to the hospital are bearers of NHIS cards. Dr. Wudasemi warned that the hospital is at its wit's end and will be forced to go back to the cash and carry system beginning next week if the claims owed them are not paid.
As at May 2017, we have only been reimbursed for the months of January, March, and April of 2016, with the rest of the months all outstanding. We had assurances that by the end of April 2017, a significant reimbursement would have been done. But I'm very sad to report to all of you that as we speak, there still has been no show. We are therefore serving notices to our cherished clients to prepare themselves for the return of cash and carry next week. We have been forced to take this painful decision due to the seemingly inertia on the part of the relevant authorities. As I speak to you, patients on admission have had to go out to procure their own drugs. Surgeries have been cancelled because we are unable to procure basic consumables. Nosocomial infections are on the ascendancy because we cannot provide cleaning agents and even gloves for our orderlies to keep our facilities clean.
Another key challenge faced by the hospital is the littering around the wards and open spaces by relatives of their clients, despite the provision of a toilet facility for them.
Some clients' relatives still take delight in open defecation. They litter around the walls and all available open spaces. I have therefore instructed the security apparatus to apply minimum force on anyone caught in this very shameful and primitive act.
The International Day of the Sick was started by Pope John Paul II as a way for believers to offer prayers for those suffering from illness. People around the world take the time to pray for the sick and for those who work very hard to alleviate the sufferings of the sick on this day. Bishop of the Wa Diocese, His Lordship Richard Kun Yewop, led the church to pray for the sick and the workers of the hospital. The occasion was also used to inaugurate the boards of the hospital and the nursing training institutes established by the Catholic Church. Prizes were also awarded to hard-working staff of the hospital. Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam, Jirapa.
President Akufo-Addo has returned from a tour of 3 West African countries, namely Togo, Burkina Faso, and La Côte d'Ivoire. The trip was to afford him the chance to formally introduce himself as a Ghanaian leader to the government and peoples, and also deepen bilateral relations. Whilst in Burkina Faso, President Akufo-Addo highlighted railway and water development between Ghana and Burkina Faso as top on his agenda. He was addressing the state dinner in his honor, and the president said during the period that the project, if implemented, will bring prosperity to both countries.
I believe sincerely that there are great prospects ahead in the future for both of our countries, and cooperation of the sort that we have been parties to these last 2 days, and establishing the conditions for regional projects such as the Accra-Ouagadougou Railway Project, a project that is particularly dear to my heart, will enhance our ability to reach this goal of prosperity for our people. The time has come for all of us to put our energies together to create that more prosperous, brighter Africa, which has been at the heart of our undertaking.
President Akufo-Addo also stated Ghana's relationship with Burkina Faso will not change in spite of the changing government.
Countries are linked in so many ways, by history, by geography, by common ethnic and cultural ties, that we have no option but to work together to try and improve the conditions of life of our two peoples. That is the focus of my visit here, to reassure the President that even though there's been a change in the leadership of our country in Ghana, Ghana's commitment to strong relationships with her neighbors, in particular with Burkina Faso, remains unchanged. We've been able to do that, And I think that with the President Macron's Christian Kabore, I found an interlocutor who has a very full and complete understanding of the issues that are confronting our two peoples, our region, and the continent of Africa. And we share so many common positions on those, as the communique reflected.
And in La Côte d'Ivoire, he met the Ghanaian community and reiterated the commitment of his government to establishing the Infrastructure for Poverty Eradication program. He said this is a vehicle which will ensure that each of the 275 constituencies receive the equivalent of some $1 million per year for infrastructure development. The bill for the establishment of these authorities, the president revealed, will be laid before Parliament when the House reconvenes later this month.
$1 million per constituency, no. Our budget team, this year's budget contains that commitment. So the provision is being made.
The $1 million per constituency is in this year's budget because we want to ensure accountability. The development authority that have to oversee that policy is not yet ready. When Parliament reconvenes, we'll start the plans for the Northern Development Authority, the Middle Belt and Coastal Development Authorities. I want it to be transparent. I don't want what happened to SADA to recur. So give me some time.
It's not enough. We need to do more. We will do more. But the budgetary provision for this year, or the $275 million, it's in this year's budget. Thank you.
And in the second round of his tour, that is to the various West African countries, the president is expected to visit 7 countries, namely Nigeria, Senegal, Guinea, Benin, Cape Verde, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. So stay tuned. We'll bring you a lot more. Well, let's move on to some of the stories. And Christians account for more than 71% of the religious population in our country. It's not surprising then that in almost every street corner of the country's capital, Accra, there's a church or a small fellowship from Golgotha Evangelistic Power Ministries International to Coast to Coast Evangelistic Ministries. Incorporated churches choose various names for various reasons. Our reporter Faustina Safo has been speaking to some pastors in Accra to find out more about such interesting names.
Most people around the world believe in a supernatural being, and for Christians, the church is that place to connect with their God. During our tour through Accra, we discovered many churches and they had interesting names, like Power Voice of Heaven Ministry, House of Changing Power Ministries International, Truth of Fire Ministry, and Power Demonstration Ministry International. Others seem to have been taken from biblical events, like Three Breads of Loaves House, the Church of Pentecost, and Golgotha Evangelistic Power Ministries International. That's not all. Some of the churches were about Father Bethel Prayer Ministry and St. Joseph the Worker Church, while others left you wondering and asking more questions, like Coast to Coast Evangelistic Ministry Incorporated, Unicorn Christian Center, International Charismatic Church Cathedral, and Touch Not My Anointed Ministry. Curious, I wondered what inspired their choice of names. Apostle Famoako Atta is the General Overseer of Freedom Chapel International.
I was called specifically to deal with the destiny and the liberty of God's people. And that's what God said. God just told me, do you know the emblem of Ghana? I said, yeah, freedom. Freedom from our colonial masters. And God said, okay, choose the name freedom. So that through the anointing, you can bring liberty to my people. So the name of the church, the organization, must go with the assignment and the calling of the set man.
But Reverend Dr. Franklin Jan, founder of Life Restoration Chapel, argues a name should rather be in line with the promise the church hopes to deliver to its congregation.
The name of a church in itself is a confession. You know, it's prophetic. So that if you happen to name a church and For instance, Life Restoration Chapel. If you name a church like this, it means that regardless of how the lives of the people has been affected, the promise seems to have been highlighted in the name of the church.
Reverend Seth Kofi Hammond of the International Charismatic Church is certain there is no biblical guidelines for choosing a name.
It depends on the vision that the person has or what God has told him. So it's very personal, but there are some names. I don't want to mention something. When you hear it, sounds so funny. You don't know what they are doing. I mean, how they're able to make up that name, you know, but I don't know. It's personal. I don't know what got into that person's mind to give such a name. But when you hear that names, immediately puts it off.
Well, either revealed based on personal relationship or motivated by law of right confession, do the name matter to the church-going Christian?
Not really, but I've been seeing funny names about churches, redemption, revival, resurrection, and whatever, but it doesn't really tickle me.
Oh yes, it does, because the name actually gives us the meaning and the purpose of their existence in society.
It's not about a name, but it's about where my heart tells me that, yeah, this is where I could get peace of mind in terms of the word of God.
Faustina Safo, for Joy News.
And that's it for the latest news update we have, but we have a lot more. We'll be looking at the online portals, and we know in France there's change, and Emmanuel Macron, 39-year-old, is the new president of the Republic of France. But we have other news stories featured on the front pages of the newspapers. But throughout, you can get interactive on Facebook, Joy News on TV, where they're live. And then we also have a Twitter handle at Joy News on TV. We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll look at the newspapers. Please do stay on.